Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, which I have just created, like, just now. This is my first video, so welcome! This channel will essentially be following me as I work to open my own business. The long-term goal is to have a physical store that I own and that is successful and will support me in my life. However, that's kind of a long way off at the moment. Right now, I'm just a minimum wage cashier at a failing knick-knack store. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the background. I just don't have the time and money to really open that business that I eventually want right now. And I've talked to other small business owners, other hopefuls. I've looked into every, small business loan and program I can find. It's just not feasible for me right now. But that doesn't mean that I've decided that doesn't mean I can't take those, first little steps to make it and work to make it feasible for me. And so to that end, I have decided to open an Etsy store. To those of you who don't know what Etsy is, it's this like online marketplace, right, where you can open your own store. It's specifically aimed at handcrafted and vintage, goods. And it's pretty simple and free and, well, you pay for each listing, but it's pretty cheap considering. I might do a whole video on it and how it works at some point, but for right now, I'm just trying, open the YouTube channel. And, you might be asking yourself, well, asking me? Well, anyway, you might be thinking, aren't you trying to open a business? Isn't that a lot of work? Shouldn't you be going and doing that instead of, working on this, video? Should probably go work on your store. And to that I respond, I am. You see, one of the most important aspects to owning and running a business is going to be marketing. Especially when, every time somebody looks you up, you're shown alongside, hundreds of other competitors. So, that is what this is. Marketing. That's kind of what this is. This is marketing. It's not all it is, right? But that's a large part of it, is, spreading the word, telling people about my business, trying to get people to come take a look at it. The other part is just that it's not easy to open a small business, like, at all. And I feel like having a record of this will help both me down the line when I'm looking back and being like, okay, this is how I started, this is where I am now, how did I get to this point, right? Either in a good way or a bad way, But also that it might help somebody else going through the same kind of thing one day, get to where they want to be. So as for what I will be doing and posting on this channel, a lot of it's all going to be related to my business, right? And a lot of it will be this kind of, one-on-one chat vloggy thing, right, that I'm doing right now, where I'll go over a checklist of what I have done, what I'm working on, what I'm going to be working on, and just updates on how it's going overall. Another thing that I will be doing on here is probably going over my materials, my tools, my processes of how I make the items, and from there, if I get any custom orders, I'm almost definitely going to do videos on those because that would be amazing. Just anything to do with my store. Speaking of which, my Etsy store will be named Starlight Reverie. That was one of the very first things I decided to work on once I decided I was going to do it, was coming up with the name. And so to that end, the process for that was kind of, I took words that I knew fit with the aesthetic and what I was trying to sell, right? My brand aesthetic and what I was trying to sell. And I typed them in and I kept looking up synonyms. And the really eye-catching ones, right? And the ones that really spoke to the vibe I was going for, I wrote them down. I just made a list of these words, and then I took these words and I mixed and matched them until I had a number of like 2-word phrases, okay? And then these phrases, I went through, and I had a very long list at this point, and I just crossed off ones that I didn't like the sound of together, ones that I felt were too close to an existing thing, ones that I just didn't like for some reason, I just narrowed my choices, right? And at the end I had, I think, 5 or 6, which I then started sending to, my friends, people who I know who are interested in the kinds of things that I plan on selling, and got their feedback and their, kind of almost had them vote on it. And at the end of the day, Starlight Reverie was the winner. Yay, Starlight Reverie. And that's kind of how I went about it. What I'm planning on selling are things that are inspired by the fantasy adventure aesthetic, as well as items that are pagan goods, specifically mostly altar goods. And the reason for that is because I myself am pagan, and I find that I'm very specific about what I want on my altar, okay? And a lot of the times I can't really find what I'm looking for, and I know I can't be the only one. So, I'm gonna kind of work on that. And as for the fantasy-inspired things, I grew up on like Lord of the Rings and D&D and, that variety of things, and everything in those just always looked so magical and fantastic. And I want to bring a little bit of that into like people's everyday lives through household goods and jewelry and clothing. So at the end of the day, a lot of what I'm going to be selling is going to be like shirts that have an imitation corset in the front. Not like a real corset with full boning and lacing and you can like yank that shit to shrink your stomach an inch or two, but enough to give it the aesthetic appeal. Similarly, pants with like embroidered scroll work up the sides and along the hems, things like that. As for jewelry, maybe, burnished silver looking pendants and things like that. I haven't worked out so much the jewelry designs. And from there, household goods might be little knickknacks or things to lie around the house. One of the things I definitely want to do is god and goddess statues, custom god and goddess statues, both for altars and for people who are just like, wow, that looks really cool. I want that in my house as a knickknack, Custom candle holders, carved rune stones made out of popular gems like rose quartz and hematite and lapis lazuli and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm starting at. Hopefully this will go well. Now, where I started was, again, obviously with my name and the name of the store. And so from there, I designed the logo, which I will be posting a speed paint of later on. And I also created the palette that I'm going to use. And the palette for my brand aesthetic is going to be black, white, smoky gray, silver, and then a blue scale. And the reason I say blue scale instead of like listing tones or shades is because I feel like that's limiting and not really what I'm looking in for when it's going to be very, fluid. So essentially that's going to range from like this really dark midnight blue all the way to royal blue, right? And I'm going to be keeping the tone and the saturation pretty much on the same level and just adjusting the shade, from really dark to like really, bright. I don't think I'm going to go any lighter than royal blue, but we'll see. So the other things that I've been working on is I ordered several of the tools and materials I need off of Amazon recently. So I did that. I have started on the marketing, clearly. Things that I'm working on in progress of, again, the marketing. As well as getting used to those materials and tools that I ordered. Because some of them are things that, I'm not as familiar with as I'd like to be. I've maybe used them once or twice in the past, or I've used something similar enough, but I'm not 100% comfortable with these things. And I feel like I need that practice before I start being like, yeah, I can sell this. I feel like I need that practice first. Other things I'm working on are, again, marketing, although I keep repeating that, but that's because it's so important. Marketing. If you want to be a business owner, you gotta know marketing. looking into, again, more of the like research into how businesses operate, what I can do, what to do to be successful. That's taking a lot of time. That's kind of where I am in terms of, what I'm doing right now. Things that I want to work on in the immediate future include creating those first few listings, posting those first few products, getting the store up and running, right? Creating some more social media and marketing things, right? As far as that goes, I want to do Facebook because it's what I'm most familiar with. But beyond that, I'm not sure which platforms I'm going to use yet. I'm considering Instagram as well as a few others. But I'm not really the hugest social media person, so I might recruit a friend or two to help me figure that part out. Another thing that's on my to-do list right now is going to be changing my bank account. And now, this isn't for like a strict business reason, it's because I'm not really happy with my bank as it is. And I don't really want to start putting money into that until I'm happy with it, because I don't want to have to not only transfer my bank account, but then go online and transfer all this stuff for my new store as well, right? I don't want to cause any problems with that, so I want to get that done before I open. Another thing I really want to do is business cards. I have been talking to people about my store, trying to, get feedback, put the word out. And one thing that I've run into surprisingly often, considering I've never really thought of it before, was business cards. I'll be talking about it and they'll be like, hey, do you have a business card? And I'll just be like, no. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, should I? I should, shouldn't I? So I want to be able, next time they ask me that, be like, yes I do, here you go, And I've also been talking to, other people who are kind of taking a similar path to what I am, or who want to end up in a similar place, and the number of business cards that I've gotten handed is astounding. So I guess they're kind of more important than I thought they'd be. So that's one thing I need to do, is get some business cards. One specific area of research that I have highlighted right now is looking into shipping and packaging. How am I going to be packaging my goods? How am I going to be shipping them? What's the kind of shipping costs that I'm looking at? That's a big one. So, and that's kind of my list right now. I'm probably going to, fiddle with it, add to it, subtract to it as I check things off. But that's where I am right now. Now, there's one last thing I just want to go over before I end this video, and that is going to be the video itself, specifically the quality. As you've probably noticed, right, the lighting is kind of really weird. We've got these really bright floodlights washing out my background. The reason for that is quite simply, I am at my job right now, okay? That minimum wage cashiering job where I don't get customers that often. And the reason being is I don't have a lot of free time, especially these last few weeks, right? So I gotta kind of do things whenever I can, alright? Now, the next thing you've probably noticed is that the camera that I'm filming this on is not the highest quality. This is my phone, and it's like a $40, cheapo smartphone. Again, I am pretty broke, and I have a friend who would probably let me borrow her Galaxy, which has an amazing camera. But I also want these videos to be very honest about where I'm starting. And this is where I'm starting. If it becomes, a problem or too many people, don't really like the video quality, I'll probably go borrow her smartphone. But I just want this to be a very honest look at where I'm starting. And this is my phone. This is the only camera I have. So, this is it at the moment. Obviously, as I get into a better financial situation, I'm going to buy a better camera. But right now, this is what I've got. Similarly, the sound quality, a lot of it is for the same reason. I'm at my job, and that means I have music playing in the background. I did adjust what playlist I was playing to match a little better, but I'm not allowed to not play music, so that's in the background right now. If you're curious, this is just, the Spotify shuffle for Lindsey Sterling, whom I love. But, yeah. Also is editing or lack thereof. Again, I don't have a ton of time on my hands. I don't, have any editing software. And I'll be completely honest, I wouldn't know what to do with it if I did. Okay? That's something that, again, I'm probably going to work on for the future. But for right now, you're just getting the raw video. Sorry about that. I do re-record it a few times to make sure I get it right. This is like my 70th recording, actually. But this is kind of what it's going to be for the moment. I'm sorry if it bothers you. Anyway, that is all I have to say right now. I hope that you will follow me and my store and maybe buy some things as it happens. Right now I'm looking at a timeline of about 2 months to opening. 2 months to opening, people. I mean, like, I guess that kind of seems like a long time, but considering how long I've wanted this, it's like feels so close at the same time, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got so much to do. And it's kind of like freaking me out, but yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye!